Welcome back to the last part of News Center. My name is Ken Mijungu. Straight to Wote in Makueni County, and the 7th Devolution Conference is the doors are set to close this afternoon. It's been about 3 weeks of a lot of information sharing within the 47 counties. Deputy President William Ruto is set to close the conference this afternoon. Before that, Daniel Kariuki is on standby to tell us the latest from that end regarding the what they have agreed upon, what they have spoken about, what has not been spoken about, and the fact that this is the last devolution conference is very critical. He's also on standby with a guest he'll be speaking to. Daniel, over to you.
All right, good morning to you, Ken, and you've put it right that this is day 3 of the much-anticipated devolution conference that was cancelled twice, today being the last day, and we expect the Deputy President to officially close it, but reports indicate and see situation, he might just come and close the conference officially, and of course the resolutions that will have been made here concerning matters to do with climate change, you are going to be well aware about them later on once the conference is officially closed. Right now there are several discussions ongoing, breakaways in different auditoriums concerning matters to do with climate change, youth participation in matters to do with climate change, and what the government is doing concerning the climate change during and after the pandemic. I want to engage one of the environmentalists here in the country, Dr. Isaac Kalua. Thank you very much for joining us here on KTN News. And of course, matters climate has been of consideration here during this year's conference. I know you have been following keenly what has been happening. Maybe you can tell us, has the set goals, the set agenda been achieved during the 3 days of the devolution conference that has been happening here?
As you know, climate change issues is a global matter where Kenya is part of signatories of international treaties, the multinational conventions, and therefore it is then constitutional because it is legal and we must deal with. And therefore, locally Kenya needs also to participate and take their share, and that is why out of the international treaties, 32% of our emissions have to be reduced by the year 2030. This is a very major commitment, and it takes a lot. And the very recent global completed, and it states that 85% of people globally have been affected by matters of climate change, and therefore localizing that, we are talking of 39 million Kenyans who are affected in one way or another. I really appreciate the way that the Kenyans have taken it up, domesticating the climate change issues at different levels so that Kenyans can be able to understand, so that we can then enact laws and procedures that can be done at the county level. And the greatest win is when the president, during his official opening, he mentioned that he is going to call for the first meeting of the Climate Change Council. This has been the missing link, and now they are to work in these areas in a very directed and well-coordinated manner that affects Kenyans directly.
Right, and of course the Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Matiang'i on Tuesday talked of the conflicts that have been happening in various parts of the country, in Baringo, in Laikipia. In fact, talked about even the drought and the famine that we have been witnessing, all to climate change. Maybe as one of the person who matters to do with environment, do you feel like the action that the government is taking will try to reduce this kind of conflicts that we are having? Of course, bearing in mind that there is a lot of funds that is being allocated to fight the climate change.
Climate change issues, as I've said, they're affecting 39 million plus Kenyans, 85%. These conflicts are within what is expected out of these issues. Funding is a very serious as budgeted, as the accounting that has been done, it deal with this. Kenya has already committed to getting 13% out of this, and therefore the 87% must come out of somewhere. But even before doing that, there is the Climate Change Fund, which needs to be activated at the national level, because that will happen immediately after the first meeting, I believe, with the president. Able to deal with some of these issues, climate change related as far as agriculture. You go to the Rift Valley region, tea is a problem. Harvesting the same coffees, there are issues that are being affected out of this requirement for energy. You get to the other areas that have a lot of water, sea and all that, they have different challenges. Now we need to use what we already have, and the direction clearly is a commitment between 1 to 3%. I recommend 5%, so that out of our GDP this can be done, and then dealing with issues that are very practical. And you saw during the other day that just during this conference, 2 million trees had already been planted, and the president planted the 2 millionth tree.
Right.
And out of that now the Plant Your Age campaign has been adopted, where all the governors are going to plant 625,000 trees, 80 trees, and then getting now to the level of having 50 million trees, which will culminate again to 2 billion trees. So these are things that we must be able to do, and I hope the government seems to be very serious. I really appreciate, and the main thing is just to take up the main issues that have been done by NGOs, upscale them. There is no need to reinvent the wheel. A lot has been done, and therefore it's just to take it to the next level.
And of course, we expect to have the resolutions that will be agreed upon here during the conference. Maybe can you just give us a sneak preview of some of the resolutions? I
can't wait to see the resolutions, because this is where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
And we have commitments that we have to meet as a country, and we must care about the livelihoods of our people. Very practical examples and actions that must be taken in a very structured manner. That is what is expected at the end of this, and we look forward to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Of course, we are going to be engaging you later on. I want also, just in less than 1 minute, to engage the Council of Governors Director in matters to do with climate change. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been indeed one of the most awaited conference. It is the first in after the recent one that happened in Glasgow concerning matters to do with the environment. You, as the one of the person who has been in preparation concerning this climate change, maybe you can tell us, have you achieved the set agenda that you had in mind, maybe?
Okay, thanks. My name is Evans Gichana. I'm the Director of Climate Change in Kisumu. I was not involved in the arrangements, but I was organizing from my end on how to participate in these matters of this conference, on what could be our role in terms of cascading in the multinational level role down in the ground. So maybe what I may speak much about the national level down at the county level.
And so maybe talking about the sub-county level, have you managed to have the set agenda in climate change? Because it is one of the, actually most of the counties, we are talking about 42 counties have already passed concerning funds allocated to climate change, and the funds will be distributed to across the sub-counties in the counties. Maybe you can tell us, is this going to help fight the climate change? Because, like, for instance, I was speaking to Governor Ongwae from Kisii County and told me he had allocated about 100 million. Once allocated to sub-counties, it's about 2 million. Will it be possible to achieve the climate change agenda?
Yes, what we can say is that first of all, it's so important that they brought this conference, and the theme is about multi-level governance on climate action at the local level. Why it is important is that this is where we find the climate impacts most, and at the county level is where we find that our people are suffering most. And what is so important is that most of the counties, including my county, have come up with the Climate Change Act and the policies. And this, we got this through the support of partners like ADA and FSD, who came and supported us. And we did public participation up to the grassroots level where people were involved. We have also come up with the vulnerability assessment reports, which are going to assist in terms of ensuring that when resources are available, they are directed to the right people who can benefit from the climate actions at the local level. It's that all the counties have different types of impacts of climate change, and the focus should be at that level. Where are our people affected most? For example, there are counties which are having challenges on water resources. There are areas like in our county where we find we have the lake, there is water, but then the lake is having pollution. And so there are challenges that are down there, varying in different levels. But what is important is how we are going to have these actions carried out at that local level. What will be required most is a political will. Political will be so important. And then there is what we call multi-stakeholder participation, so that everybody is a partner in this process. From this particular conference, I've realized that it's so important that climate action is not a single-handed thing that somebody can do alone. It is something that requires all of us to come together and be able to move forward the agenda of climate action.
And of course, there is a question I've asked Dr. Isaac concerning matters to do with the resolutions that are going to be reached here during the conference. As one of the stakeholders in matters to do with climate change, how are you going to ensure that this resolution and maybe some of the issues that are going to be raised, and maybe some of the, should I call them, changes that they are going to put across, how are you going to ensure that they are effected?
What we have done at the county level is that we have put up institutional framework, and this institutional framework involves structures. The structures are that we are having a climate change council at the top, where the governor is the chairperson, and we are having a planning committee at the county level, and we are having the ward planning committees down at the grassroots. And to inform or to coordinate all these committees, we are having the Climate Change Directorate. So what we are going to do with the resolutions that will be passed here is to have a discussion that will be able to assist us at the level of where we are having the climate change working groups, where we can be able to discuss these issues and take them to the Climate Change Council. The Council will be able now to pass resolutions that will be able to assist us in bringing interventions based on the resolutions that have been passed in this meeting.
And of course, Kenya is the first country to do the climate change conference. Maybe can this set an agenda in Africa in matters to do with climate change? Can Kenya be the entry point in Africa for even the other countries to maybe focus in matters climate change?
Yes, Kenya is moving on very well, because Kenya has put up the structures, and these structures on climate change are very important. We are also the first country that has put up structures including the National Climate Change Action Plan, the NDCs, and all these are working well for the country. And Kenya is going to be a focus, because this is where we are having the FLOCA or funding from the World Bank, which is going to go to down to the ground. And so we shall be the example of the rest of the world, of the rest of Africa.
Right, right.
Yes.
Of course,
Yes.
thank you very much. And of course, I know you're going to be following very keenly to ensure that you see this happen. Maybe as a council, on behalf of the Council of Governors, this being the last conference, devolution conference to be hosted annually, do you see like maybe these issues that are being discussed are going to be followed up later on by the council, maybe? Because of course it will be happening every 2 years, keeping track of these issues that they have been discussing.
I think they will. They will, because they have been coming out with various reports, and I think the reports are interesting. And you realize that most of the counties, all the counties, the governors are the chair of the councils. If they are not, their deputies are chair of the committees at the local level. And they
All right, we apologize for that technical hitch from Makweni County, where Daniel Kariuki is still covering for us, and we'll definitely try and join him a little bit later. We're still on air throughout the day. Deputy President expected to close the conference much later on, and we'll be bringing you that live. However, away from that, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has been endorsed to run for